This is the story of a factory and some broken safety regulations. Acre Mill, Hebden Bridge, Yorkshire. The owners, Cape Asbestos, a big international company, closed it down last year. But Acre Mill won't easily be forgotten.
Would you work in an asbestos factory again?
I certainly shouldn't recommend it to anyone.
There are new regulations now and the safety standards are said to be much better. Would that influence you at all?
Not really, no, not with what I've got.
What have you got?
Asbestosis. And I know about it too.
What's it feel like?
At the moment, grim.
My brother died. He had asbestos and it caused cancer of the lung and he died. That's just 12 months ago.
Where did he work?
He worked at Cape, same place as my husband.
As my wife's mentioned, her brother, I mean, we're living on borrowed time, aren't we?
How do you mean, borrowed time?
Well, I think I'm living on borrowed time, actually, because it's building up in my chest all the time.
The asbestos industry was warned in 1930 by an official report that asbestos dust could cause an incurable lung disease, asbestosis. As a result, the government laid down the Asbestos Industry Regulations 1931, designed to prevent asbestosis by controlling dust. At Acre Mill, some of those regulations were not observed. Tonight, Cape's own men show what went on. Today, Acre Mill is empty. We asked to film inside, but Cape weren't able to help us, nor, for legal reasons, could they appear on this programme.
This was the Cape Asbestos cricket team, 1956-57. There are 16 men on that photograph, and 4 of them contracted asbestosis. Mr. MacDonald, the chief engineer, myself at the far end here, Alf Rose and Dick Hutchinson. Dick died through it a couple of years ago.
Cape came to Acre Mill in 1939, 8 years after the regulations were brought in. Our evidence is that from 1946 right into the 1960s, some of those regulations were broken at the mill. To show how, we have reconstructed 3 departments at the factory. This lorry is part of our first reconstruction. We have tried to make all 3 reconstructions as precise as any reconstruction can be. They are filmed in other mills near Hebden Bridge. But we have not used real asbestos, because it could be dangerous to the people taking part. So the 300 sacks on this lorry contain a mixture of cotton waste, flour, fuller's earth and lime. In this programme, we are not going to blame any individual member of Cape's management for what happened at Acre Mill. This story could be repeated anywhere where the deadliness of asbestos dust is not appreciated. All the men you will see in this film worked for Cape at Acre Mill. They will describe working conditions in specific parts of the mill at the periods when they themselves worked there.
What was the first department you worked in Capes?
I had to start in the warehouse.
What did you do?
That was unloading wagons or anything like that that brought the asbestos.
What kind of sacks were they?
Oh, Hessian. But they were terrible, right? Wasn't it? I mean, it was full of holes.
The Asbestos Industry Regulations 1931.
Regulation 8B. All sacks used as containers for the transport of asbestos within the factory shall be constructed of impermeable material and shall be kept in good repair.
In other words, the sacks must not let dust through. Hessian does.
Was it ordinary Hessian, or were they lined in some way?
Oh, no, they wasn't lined at all, no.
You're
quite sure about
I'm
that?
positive.
Oh, I see.
Hessian sacks were used and reused throughout Acre Mill. In the warehouse, Cape were also bound by Section 47(1) of the Factories Act 1937.
In every factory in which there is given off any dust likely to be injurious to persons employed, exhaust appliances shall be provided where the nature of the process makes it practicable.
What was the ventilation like?
None.
None at all?
None at all.
You're quite sure of that?
I'm positive.
No fan?
No fan, no.
Do you feel that you as charge hand should have complained about the conditions?
We did complain. We complained many times.
What happened?
Nothing in particular, only we were, the lads were provided with hoods for carrying the asbestos sacks off the wagon to keep it from the back of the neck.
Hoods, but not...
And masks, of course.
Nothing that kept the dust completely away from their faces?
No. I've known lads on top of a stack break a window to let a certain amount of dust out.
How thick was the dust when they did that?
Well, I don't know how we measure dust, you know, but it were...
Thick enough, wasn't
It was fairly thick.
Cape didn't install proper ventilation in the warehouse. They did provide the men throughout the factory with rubber face masks, older versions of the ones you see here. They were the best available, but in conditions like this, asbestos dust got in round the edges.
Which year did you leave Cape?
1948.
Have you worked in any asbestos factories since then?
No.
When did you first find that you had asbestosis?
About 3 weeks before Christmas, 1970.
It's 22 years after you left Cape?
Yes.
How did you find out?
Well, I started with shorter breath, and I went down to the doctor's, and I told him about the shorter breath. Then he examined me, and then he says, "Have you ever worked in asbestos?" I looked at him, I said, "Yes, I have." I said, "But it's 20 odd years back." And I started laughing then. And he says, "What are you laughing for?" I said, "Well, I can't point anything. I can't blame it at this stage." He says, "I'm the doctor." He says, "Not you." So I says, "Oh." I felt a fool then, like, and he says, "What did you work at asbestos?" I said, "Well, I worked at Cape Asbestos, at Acre Mill." He said, "What was your job?" I said, "On disintegrator."